This week on The Aviators, we talk to the most experienced steerman pilot on the planet, airshow performer John Moore.
Where to go, Johnny?
We look at the T-45 Goshawk, the U.S. Navy's jet trainer. And we explore the oldest form of human flight, hot air ballooning.
You can't do this in very many other forms of aviation.
The hot air balloon, the oldest form of successful flight. 120 years before the Wright brothers, the Montgolfier brothers of France put a sheep, a duck, and a rooster into the air on board a balloon. A manned flight followed a few days later. Today, while the materials and the burners used have changed, hot air balloons still roughly conform to their original design. Due to its ideal ballooning weather, Albuquerque, New Mexico is known worldwide as one of the best places to go ballooning. In the early morning hours, it's not uncommon to see brightly colored balloons flying high over the desert. Just like fixed-wing or rotary pilots, hot air balloon pilots are licensed by the FAA. And that's where the similarities to all other forms of flying pretty much stop. The first step in a balloon flight is initially inflating the balloon, known as an envelope, with cold air from a fan. Once the balloon is sufficiently inflated and has its general shape, the balloon's propane burners are used to heat the air within the envelope and finish inflating the balloon. With the basket in its upright position, the balloon's passengers can climb into the basket. Brooke Owen is a balloon pilot with Rainbow Riders in Albuquerque.
There's no first class or coach here, so the balloon will rotate throughout the flight. Everybody just turn, face outwards, and watch the world go by, okay?
And the restrooms are where?
You guys just have to make friends for that.
Great.
Everybody good?
Yes, good.
All right. We'll be out of here in just a moment.
Heating the air within the envelope increases air pressure inside the balloon. This displaces the air outside of the balloon, making it more buoyant and causing it to rise. By controlling the temperature within the balloon, Brooke controls how quickly or slowly the aircraft climbs or descends.
So each of these burners are independently operated. They're basically one burner per tank. Each one of these burners at 100 PSI puts out about 15 million BTUs. 15 million, so that's a lot of heat if you compare that with a household furnace. And the volume of the balloon, this balloon is 275,000 cubic feet in size. Put that in some sort of perspective, you can basically put about 275,000 basketballs inside this balloon when it's fully inflated like this. I don't own 275,000 basketballs, so no, I haven't tried that. The control lines themselves, the green and black line here, these are rotation vents. I've got two vents on the side of the balloon. There's two flaps. As I pull those, it pulls a curtain inside, lets the heat escape. That heat escape and actually rotates the balloon the opposite direction, some sort of propulsion, and it just kind of rotates it on its axis. Doesn't change our direction, doesn't change our speed, just rotates it around. That's what's keeping this nice slow turn going for you. And then the two red lines here, these are the main vent in the top, the circular panel there. I can actually open that a couple of different ways. I can open it mid-flight and actually just let heat escape. So if we want to descend, we open that up, let that heat come out, balloon cools off, we become heavier, and so we sink. And then I can also open it from the middle so it pulls the edges into the center, and we'll use that upon landing for final deflation and if it was a windy landing. So, and then that's really about it. There's not much else to it. It's kind of the simplest form of flying that there is.
Moving horizontally is entirely dependent on the wind. If the wind blows east, the aircraft will move east. The pilots can control their movement to some extent by taking advantage of changing winds at different altitudes. If you want to fly north and the wind is blowing east at your present altitude, but more to the north 1,000 feet higher, the pilot can actually change direction by applying more heat and climbing the balloon into more favorable winds.
We want light winds. Balloonists are never happy. It's either too calm or too windy because we want such a thin margin there. So 5 to 10 miles an hour of wind is ideal. that gets you somewhere and also makes it safe enough for landing opportunities. Basically what we have here is most desirable. That's why Albuquerque is so well known for ballooning. And it's really the desert Southwest that lends itself to ideal conditions for flying.
Instrumentation on the balloon is extremely limited. Essentially, an altimeter, a vertical speed indicator, and a GPS, along with a way to monitor the temperature inside and outside of the envelope.
Yeah, so right now this is our vertical speed indicator. We're actually descending at this point about 160 feet, 150 feet a minute. So that's showing that. This is our altitude above sea level. And then this is the temperature inside the balloon here. So we're actually descending now. We'll let the balloon cool off and we'll come down anywhere from 800 to 1,000 feet a minute. So it'll take us about 4 or 5 minutes to actually get back treetop level here. So pretty quick. Your ears might pop, but that just means they're working.
With the balloon's sensitivity to winds and conditions, most flights take place at either dawn or dusk. Throughout the day, as the sun heats the Earth, the hot Earth will then heat the air. This hot air then rises, creating what's called thermals. At the very least, this rising air can create a somewhat uncomfortable ride. At worst, it can cause the balloon to rise uncontrollably. It goes without saying that a hot air balloon is probably not the best way to get from point A to point B, but it's really not intended to be. This form of flight is really more about the experience.
You can't do this in very many other forms of aviation. This would be a crash.
The ability to drift along at treetop level, with the only sound to break the serenity being the occasional blast of the burner.
It's a surreal experience. It's very gentle. I really feel that anybody can do it from 5 to 105. You know, the flying aspect is not much different than this on any daily basis. The stronger the winds, the more exciting the landings can be. But outside of that, this is ballooning at its best. You know, the view, the calmness, floating over rooftops and over barking dogs and getting the view and all that. So it's something that everybody should do, and come on out and join us.
As far as being a balloon pilot is concerned, the requirements are not all that different from other forms of flying.
Balloons are a federal aircraft just like an airplane or a helicopter, and so you have to have a pilot's rating to fly these. So in the ballooning world, we have 2 ratings. We have a commercial and a private. So private for fun, commercial for hire. Just requires so many hours of flight time, ground school, written test, all that.
With a limited window to fly each day, gaining hours, however, is not always going to be the easiest.
We're so weather dependent, and we typically fly for only an hour. You know, you can't go out and get 2 and 3 or 4 hour flights in. It's just not feasible in balloons. So, you know, if you come to a place like Albuquerque or Phoenix where we fly almost daily, this is our typical morning weather, you can knock it out in a couple weeks' time. Other places, you know, you might get 3 or 4 days of nice flying weather and you might go another month without, you know, good conditions. So then you basically start over, and it's a hurdle process at that. So 10 hours for your private and 35 for your commercial. So minimums, you know, most examiners double those numbers just for safety's sake, and really about 100 hours before you're proficient at flying the balloons and get a real feel for them. Because there is no rudder.
Landing a balloon is all about controlling your descent speed. As they don't know exactly where the wind is going to take them, Brooke has a ground crew driving around waiting to see where they'll land. Once he knows, Brooke radios the ground crew and they meet him at the landing site. Once the basket is safely on the ground, Brooke pulls a vent letting the air out of the top of the balloon, allowing it to slowly deflate. The ground crew then painstakingly repacks the envelope so that the balloon will be ready to come out and fly another day.